أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبل وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، بالخصوص سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل عباس بن أمير المؤمنين ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We extend our condolences to the Imam of our time in these days of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. Tonight is the night of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. As you may have seen the preparation done by the Mu'mineen, may Allah reward them for facilitating, for participating, for preparing the majalis. Indeed, there is a great reward for all those who participate, for all those who facilitate, for all those who volunteer. It is unimaginable that what one would receive in return of commemorating, in return of preparing these majalis of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. And this was something that was mentioned by the Prophet, that when Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha wondered that who will be there to commemorate, to do the majalis, the azadari of her son, the Prophet said there will be people who will be commemorating, who will be participating in the majalis. Like as we said, a personality who have or who is on a level that could see the future, such as Rasulullah, that who was capable of seeing what will happen in Qiyamah. That's what the Quran talks about, the Qiyamah in specific detail, because Prophet had such a great caliber, he was of such a great caliber that his heart was capable to download the reality that was supposed to be happening in the Day of Judgment via Quran. Other prophets, Bible or Injil or Torah, other books, doesn't really depict or describe the Qiyamah in the clarity where Rasulullah describes and depicts. It really requires a personality who have that in-depth understanding of existence by which one could really open one's heart for the reality of Qiyamah to descend, or for the reality of the future to descend. That's why in our community, in our society, for example, people who predict the future, they are respected. People who predict the future, they are considered to be quite knowledgeable. Everybody fear about them. When they come about predicting the future, मेरे बारे में क्या बोल देंगे बोल के परेशान होते. You know what I mean? They were scared that, oh, what if I go there, he will tell something about my future by looking at you. You're scared of it. So this means that these individuals or these type of personality or these people are well grounded in the existence, in the reality, that they are capable enough to predict or analyze the present situation and predict what will happen in the future, right? And that's why how Prophet clearly said that after me, there will be monkeys jumping over the mimbar who took the reign after the Prophet, as in who were sitting on the pulpit, so on and so forth. So this is something that Prophet also mentioned when it comes to who will be there to commemorate the martyrdom of the grandson. There will be qawm, there will be people, who will be there, who will commemorate. And we are lucky to be part of that prediction of the Prophet and to be among those who are participating and who are commemorating and who are preparing. Like I said, those who prepare this, they are on a higher caliber, on a higher level, that they are facilitating what Rasulullah mentioned. Now, one may say that how come prediction of the future and this doesn't really make sense? Well, the Quran also predicts the same way. Surah Araf, if you look at the Araf, the Quran says that there will be people standing on the day of judgment on heights, and they will be witnessing and seeing people, two groups of people going towards the heaven and going towards the hell. Okay, this is prediction of the future. There will be people in the group of who are going to the heaven with these qualities and whatnot, right? So this is something that resonates, from the Quran, where the Prophet have mentioned this. And once again, when we kind of come, as we were driving down here, and when we look at, so many people out there on the streets, in cars, in houses, in offices and whatnot, they are unaware of who is Husayn and what happened in history. And then we are here who are commemorating that, right? Obviously, we are lucky, number one. Number two, we will be answerable, and we have a responsibility to put ourselves where the truth is. For example, if you are in a place, some place, and in that place, and somebody attacks or something happens, your responsibility there is to, fight the one who have attacked, protect those who are the innocent ones, and you will be asked. It's a common reality. Not that somebody who's sitting in office who doesn't know what happened and what not. They will not be questioned. Those people who were there and aware of what happened, they are answerable, they are questionable, right? So the same way for us, we may think that, these people who don't have Iman, they don't know anything, but what we are every year, we have to remember and do this. And, obviously we will be questionable. And we are lucky enough to know where the haqq is and where the batil is. And discerning that and understanding that, we place ourselves in the camp of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. Inni silmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. Like as we said, this is an eternal legacy. We are in the camp of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, against the ignorance, against the arrogance of the time. And there are always individuals who are ignorant in every period and arrogant in every era, as we have seen in the time of the Masumin alayhi salam, the Khulafa who were there, the Bani Umayyah, the Bani Abbas, so on and so on. So therefore, we will be questioned, we will be asked, what you did with this, Iman, with this ni'mat, which is the ni'mat of wilayat. Will not be questioned about how much, as they say, based on the hadith. I'm saying I don't want to have time or discuss more of these things, because we have to go back to our topic that we are looking at. They say there was Abu Hanifa and the 6th Imam, where the Quran says that Allah will ask you about the ni'mat. There is an ayah of the Quran which says that Allah will ask you about the ni'mat. So in this tafsir, Abu Hanifa says that, Allah will ask you about everything that Allah have given you as a ni'mat, in the sense that the food, the water, the drink, so on and so forth. Okay, well and good. So Imam invited him for dinner. And then after that dinner, he was about to leave. He asked, how many glasses of water did you drink? How many bread did you eat? How many olives did you eat? This really shows the what do you call, a person, somebody who doesn't have a strong sort of caliber, somebody who is cheap, so to speak. He's asking, how much water did you drink? Half cup, 1 cup, 2 cup, olive. So Allah will not be questioning in this regard that how much food you eat, how much. This ayah is talking about that Allah will question about the ni'mat, is the ni'mat of the muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Is the ni'mat of the wilayat which Allah have given, which He will question. What have you done with this great honor and wilayat was given to you? Have you rectified yourself? Have you aligned yourself with this wilayat? That's why the ayah of the Quran also, and when you put the another verse of the Quran, that which says that قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرٍ إِلَّا مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. If you want to pay any respect or any due, any returns to me, the question is mawaddat of Dhil Qurba, of the loved ones, to have that mawaddat of Ahl Bayt. One will be questioned. And as a matter of fact, that becomes the criteria. And that becomes the pivotal reality of Karbala. Rasul, ma atakumur Rasul fakhuzuhu, Hezbollah Kitab Allah. What is mawaddat fil qurba here? Where the grandson of Rasul is slain and killed. What became the reason for you to go against the very Quran which Rasul is saying mawaddata fil qurba? If your slogan is that the book is sufficient enough, then it shouldn't have happened. But it happened. And that's what we are trying to analyze in the course of history. And we were looking at the period of Muawiyah, which is actually after the martyrdom of Amirul Mu'mineen and his period. We spoke about the Mariqeen, the Naqisin, the Qasitin last night. And today we're going to reflect a bit more on the time period and those things which were introduced by Muawiyah and how gradually the Ummat Islami deteriorated from that Quran, from that Sunnat of Rasulullah, from the true Islam. And that's why Imam Husayn says, I want to create a reform, I want to do Amar bil Maruf. That is the purpose of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, right? So that's what we were looking at. Now let's reflect a bit more, if you help me with the Salawat ala Muhammad wa Like as we said, one of the things that he embarked upon was that belittling the personality and the status and the spirituality of Rasulullah. That's why you have fabricated hadith from Abu Huraira during that period, where when we reflect or read the hadiths that are there in Sunan, one would be ashamed that Rasulullah behaved this way, how he was, right? Why is that? Because, as we said, in order to bring down the status of somebody who's of high caliber, so that one could be fit, and whatever one is doing, wrong things will look and will look normal, that it is okay. Rasulullah was like that. Who am I? The one who brought the Quran, he was like that. David the prophet, he was like that. I'm just a king. If David fooled the soldier and got him killed because he was in love with his wife, I'm just a king as well, right? So one purpose is that. The other purpose was, what does the Quran says, right? As the Prophet have clearly mentioned, that the Bani Umayyah, they had animosity against Bani Hashim. This was something from the time of Abdul Manaf and Abdul Shams, it's going on, right? And as we mentioned earlier as well, some of these, tribal rivalries has always been there. Today, people being against Hazara has been there even before Islam as well. But however, it becomes more of a reason for them to be against because of other reasons, But in the conscious of man, in the unconscious, reality, that has been there, which we spoke about, class of civilization, Huntington, so on and so forth, right? So this rivalry, Bani Hashim were respected. Bani Hashim were very famous, among the clan, among the tribe of the Arabs at that time. And Prophet have cleared this Bani Umayyah, they had that animosity. They were exiled in Syria during the time of, Abdul Muttalib and before that, right? And that's why Syria became a stronghold of supporters of Bani Umayyah, not only, after Islam, even before Islam, it was a stronghold, for the supporters of Bani Umayyah, because they were living already in that site. Because of their mischief nature, they were exiled. Even we are talking about the time of the great grandfather of the Prophet, Abdul Sham and Abdul Manaf, that period we are talking about now, So they were already exiled. So the bed and the ground was already there for them to have that animosity. And that's why Rasulullah clearly pointed out to that these people are not, they have accepted Islam just on the surface level, just on the, because they had no choice but to accept. Otherwise they will be cornered, otherwise they will be, killed. They are the munafiqeen. Surah Munafiqeen, if you look at it and the tafsir of it, we clearly find out that, right? So one of the reason was actually, what does the Quran says? Quran says that, Rasulullah is uswatul hasana. There's an ayah of the Quran clearly pointing out to that Rasul is the embodiment of akhlaq, khulq azim. Quran says Rasul is khulq azim. Khulq, not the khalq. Khalq is the outward reality, khilqat. Khulq is the character, is the inward reality. So Allah is saying that Rasul is khulq azim, and khulq is always more valuable than the khalq, right? So Allah says Rasul is khulq azim. So that character, that nafs, that soul of Rasul is azim, is great, right? Wa anfusana wa anfusakum. That's why, right? And also Rasul also says that Ali is my nafs, khulq, right? So here the ayah is saying that Rasul kana Rasulullahi fi uswat al-hasana, that Rasul is the exemplar for you, for all Muslims. Rasul is the example. Follow his sunnah, do things the way Rasul did, who Rasul was. But here you have, in order to undermine the character of Rasulullah, and is actually going against the Quran, which the ayah of the Quran is saying this. But okay, you're saying Rasul is, somebody who is the exemplar and example. Rasul, na'uzubillah, I shouldn't be mentioning this, but there are other as worse than this. That Rasul would stand up and go to the, pass water by standing up. It's in their books. So therefore, those people who are doing it, which is makruh shadid, it has many repercussions. They will say, oh, Rasulullah used to do it, it's okay, I can do it as well. And there are other riwayat which are like really not even, you cannot even mention it in public. There are certain things about Rasulullah. This is how Rasulullah was. So the Quran is saying Rasul is the example. So this is how your Rasul was. If you give these riwayat to a person who doesn't even have deen, you'll say, what type of person is this? Your Prophet was like this? It's such a shame. You're believing in a Prophet like this. And your Quran is saying that you should take, he's the exemplar. Take examples from Rasulullah. So how does this happen? Why this happen? If everybody respected the Prophet, if everybody regarded the Quran to be their constitution, the Rasul is the exemplar, this shouldn't be happening, right? But we find that during the reign of, from the beginning, but as we are discussing now the reign of Muawiyah, we find this type of things started taking place. For any ideology to deviate, it requires other ideological, philosophical schools or understanding to be initiated, to be added, so that ideology, that true ideology which is of Islam, is misunderstood or misinterpreted. We started seeing that taking place during the time of Muawiyah. And there was this school of thought which became the source of future sect. Because as we know, there are many sects within Islam. Many sects came, many sects vanished, they disappear in the course of history, right? People, scholars or individuals who were Muslims who came up with ideas, right, and established a school of thought, established few principles in regards interpretations of deen, qira'at dini, different interpretations of the deen, and they became famous for a period of time, so they disappear, so on and so forth. One of the schools of thought, or one of the sects that we find that came about with the thinking of Muawiyah at that time, especially this happened during the period of, they say in history, in the Battle of Siffin, And Khawarij, at that time, this school of thought became very famous, or the initiation of this school of thought happened. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. They were known as the Murji'ah. Murji'ah was a sect. Murji'ah was a sect that thought came into existence. What was that thought? And why Muawiyah promoted that thought? That thought was actually based on irja or ruju, which some say it's actually hope, being too hopeful. No matter what you do, Allah will forgive you. No matter what you do. If you have belief in Allah, and even if you do, big sin or commit a sin or something that is completely blasphemous, because you believe in Allah, you will be forgiven. There's this sense of hope being provided to the ummah. So therefore, that even if you, na'uzubillah, kill the ashab of Rasulullah, you believe in Allah? Yes, I believe. But my action was that I killed the Sahabi Rasul. All this battle of Siffin, that's what happened. Ammar was killed in that battle, right? The Sahabi Rasul and other ashab were killed. What did Yazid, who was responsible for killing of the grandson, or other people who were responsible of killing of, the family of the members of the Prophet? Okay, are you a believer? Yes, I believe in Allah. So therefore it's okay. Nothing happened. This sort of ideology, this sort of understanding is where we started promoting, right? And this happened during the 7th century, we find, right? And also this was another core belief of these individuals, were that they were against the Khawarij, because if you remember, in the battle of Siffin, Khawarij came alongside with Imam Ali to fight Muawiyah, because Khawarij also did not like Muawiyah. So they joined hands with Imam Ali, and then later on, because of the arbitration, they split. That's why Imam Ali went and fought them, right? So they were also of the belief that, the Khawarij were also of the belief that whosoever commits what you call Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Whosoever goes against the zawahir of the Quran or commits a major sin, this individual comes out of the iman, and it becomes wajib for them to fight. That's why inna hukma illa lillah, that was their slogan, that whatever is the hukm is a hukm of Allah. So therefore, whoever goes against and commits a bigger sin, they are liable to be killed. They were the extremist. So now you have to fight this thought which was existing at that time. Because Khawarij was also against the group of Muawiyah. So a thought needs to be coined or encouraged and promoted, which is number one, against Imam Ali, justifying all of the killings of the ashab, and also against the Khawarij, who was politically against Muawiyah as well. So this ideology was started being promoted. They were of the thought that the faith and iman is defined as inner belief, and verbal testimony is enough. If I just say I believe in Allah, that should be enough. And it's an inner belief, and this inner belief will not be affected by any of my action. If I do anything wrong, it's not going, my iman not going to become weak. Like for example, as we say that, if a person commits a sin, a dark spot comes onto the person's iman upon the heart. If this individual doesn't seek forgiveness within 7 hours, this dark spot will increase in the heart. And eventually, if a person doesn't seek forgiveness at all, this will take over the heart. The whole heart, the iman will become dark, and it becomes easier for this person to slip, right? So our iman is also based on our action as well. Our actions makes our iman stronger, right? And when our actions are making iman stronger, there's a relationship. But for these people, who were the Murji'ah, they were saying that no, once you have said La ilaha illallah, that's enough. No matter what you do after that. even if you kill the Sahabi Rasul. So this was something that was happening at that time. And the other thing is that judgment of sinners is deferred to God. That was the second core belief. I'm not supposed to judge if somebody is committing a sin, as he is a mu'min, because he already believes. His actions or that person's action is going against what Allah is saying. However, because he believes in Allah, I'm not supposed to say anything. Right? So this was actually why. Because Imam Ali is calling people, who is the Khalifa of the time, to support him. But who are going against Imam Ali? Not listening to the Khalifa of the time. In the previous days, if they don't listen to Khalifa, because the hukum of Khalifa was hukum of Allah, they must listen, right? But when Imam Ali was asking them to come and help and aid, they were relaxed. They were not supporting. Some of them were supporting. Those who were not supporting, they will say that, no, we don't want to get involved. Because those people, Muawiyah and the clan, they also say, La ilaha illallah. We are not supposed to judge. They may be going against the, Khalifa of the time. So why am I supposed to, use the sword? Because my sword doesn't have the understanding, the physical sword, doesn't have the understanding who is mu'min, who is not mu'min. It is this sword which cuts everybody. So therefore I should refrain myself and not engage or support the Khalifa of the time, which is Imam Ali at that time. So this thought kind of weakened the supporters of Imam Ali, weakened those who stood for the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah. So it was a good idea for Muawiyah to encourage, to promote this thought. This started, surfacing at the time of Siffin, at the time of, Nahrawan, the Khawarij. And Muawiyah used this, as he already had, scholars fabricating hadith. In terms of the hadith, he has full control. Now in terms of the i'tiqadat, he has control as well. So the belief system was also, attacked, right? Very uniquely, very cleverly, very cunningly. Then the other school which he promoted, which he encouraged, was the school of Jabriyah, which is Jabr, which is predestination. Everything, is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have decided and discerned. So therefore, it's not me who have done something wrong. It is something that Allah have did this. This became the justification of killing of Imam Husayn even. Because Allah wanted, to Husayn to be killed. I'm not responsible for this. Which is once again the this school, which is the Murji'iyah and Jabriyah, is inclined or is more seen within the understanding of the Ahl Sunnah, the Ash'arites. They were the Ash'ari. The Jabriyah were the Ash'ari. You have the three major theological schools. One is the Mu'tazilites, the Mu'tazili, and then you have the Ash'arites, and then you have the Imamiyah, the Imamites. The Ash'arites are of the belief that everything is predestined, whatsoever. And there are many other sort of, things there, which Ash'ari tend to have. And once again, these schools of thought, they use the simple understanding and emotionality and sentimentality of the people. They use that. Like for example, the Ash'ari, they say that, Allah can do whatever He wants. Who will deny that? Nobody can deny that. But if you come and say that Allah can do whatever He wants, so therefore Allah can forgive Yazid. If I say no, then say, you are restricting Allah. How come you are restricting Allah? Allah can then whatever He wants. It is as if saying, Na'uzubillah, Allah can put Fir'aun in Jannah. You say, yes, Allah can put Fir'aun in Jannah if He wants. Because Allah can do whatever He wants. But really, Allah can put Fir'aun in Jannah. That's that type of Allah that we believe in, right? So, but on the surface level, it's a simple belief that is used in order to, with an agenda, with something that they have in the hindsight. They may know or they may not know, because many a times people are, ignorant. People don't know what they are promoting and what they are doing, right? What they are vouching for, what they are supporting. They don't know, right? One have to be very deep in order to support, in order to promote something. One should really know what one is doing. That's why, we are the school of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, who have taught us, who provides the in-depth knowledge of everything, right? So here the same way. So the Ashaire, those who promotes predestination and all that, they use that. And they are also critical of justice as well. Like for example, very briefly, I'll mention this in the margin. Like for instance, the Mu'tazilites, they were known as the Aqliye or the Adliye. They promote justice, very similar to how the Shias, they talk about justice as well. Over there is a discussion in regards to, for example, as we say, Ash'ari would say, Allah have power for everything. Yes, Allah have power for everything. So therefore, if Allah says that lying is good, then lying is good. If Allah says murder is good, then murder is good. Cheating is good, Allah is saying cheating becomes good. But the Imamiyya and the Mu'tazilites, they say, no, it's not possible. Lying is essentially bad. Cheating is essentially fi nafse, in his zat, it is wrong. In the very nature of lying is bad. And that's the reason why Allah have made it haram. It was one of the greatest sin, Gunāh Kabīr. Murder the same way, cheating the same way. Now, they would respond saying that, oh, you are limiting Allah. You are restricting the power of Allah. Allah can do whatever He wants, right? So, these type of thoughts, and especially at a time where Islam is very new. Islam have just arrived. Prophet, in his 23 years of life, 40 years the Quran started. 10 years of struggle in Makkah. People don't even know things. Then after that, he migrated to Medina. And the Quran is still being revealed. Right? And people are still, they don't have that intellectual capacity to comprehend and understand. Last night we were speaking about that hadith, how people were in Sham, that who was Ali? Oh, Ali was, somebody, they don't even know. Who was Fatima and all that. The detail of the hadith we spoke about. Right? So, that's why, the fourth Imam, when he was in Sham, and when he was giving the khutbah, he says, I'm Ali. And that's why the Imam Husayn named all of his sons as Ali. Ali Akbar tonight, right? So that's why Imam Husayn named Ali and Fatima. The daughters were Fatima Kubra, Fatima Sughra, Fatima Awsat, Ali Akbar, Ali Awsat, Ali Asghar. Right? So that the name of Ali remains, so that Ali is recognized. Because Ali was completely forgotten, Rasul was forgotten, Quran was forgotten. And Muawiyah started this sort of promoting this. The period was so bad that it says that he organized a team of soldiers who would haunt the lovers of Ali. Whoever, people at that time were showing them, they prefer being Christians and Jews, but not followers of Ali, because their hands were cut, their feet were severed, they were put in prison, their property were snatched. It was happening openly. They were completely when a person have passed a verdict saying that you have to do lanat on Ali from pulpits, from Namaz-e-Jummah. In Namaz-e-Jummah khutbah, you have to do lanat. If you don't do lanat, you are in trouble by the king, by the Khalifa. If a person forgets cursing Ali in the khutbah, if he has gone home, he has to come back to the masjid, curse Ali and go back. This period, right? What would one do? How one would respond to these things? There's this jahalat of people. People are jahil, ignorant, afraid, fearful of their life and of their property. And At the same time, they don't have that knowledge. And even if they have knowledge, they are afraid. That's why if you look at Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salam, Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because if you look at Imam Husayn, as we are analyzing, Imam Husayn was watching, because we are discussing about Muawiyah and Imam Husayn. Imam Husayn was watching how Muawiyah is behaving, how he behaved during the time of the Khulafa, what position he had. He was the governor there, and what he was doing and what not, and how he treated the Abu Zar, who was the Sahabi Rasul, right? How he was treated, and the other Ashab, how they were treated by Muawiyah. He had a free hand in Sham, appointed by the second as a governor. Then Imam Husayn was watching. During the period of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he fought shoulder to shoulder with Imam Ali. He was the head of the battalion of the right wing of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Siffin, Imam Husayn. And he watched Muawiyah and how he behaved, how he cheated, and how he was and who he was. Right? He watched for 4 years. Then after that, Imam Hassan, as we said, Imam Hassan went to fight Muawiyah. Imam Hassan gathered people so that they won't, because he was the Khalifatul Muslimin. Imam Hassan is considered as the 5th Khalifa. It's unanimously accepted by Ahl Sunnah as well. After Imam Ali was Imam Hassan. For a short period of time after the Sulh of Imam Hassan happened, right? The Sulh happened. After that, the Muawiyah is considered as the 5th, as a 6th Khalifa after that, right? It's a common, knowledge of all Muslims. So Imam Hassan, what we could see is that the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, they tried the peaceful way, which is by Sulh. Imam Hassan gathered people, wanted to go fight Muawiyah, but nobody helped. They were not even 72 close followers of Imam Hassan, just like Imam Husayn. That's why Imam Husayn says, the ashab I have, my brother did not have, my father did not have. They were strong in terms of their sincerity and support of Imam Husayn, right? That's why we see that the message of Imam Husayn remained, because of their martyrdom, because of their shahadat, because of their sincerity. They created that ripple, in the ocean that still reaches us, the beauty of it, the light of it, So the ashab were not there for Imam Hassan. He went to fight. They were sold, they were spies, they were bought. Muawiyah paid money and bought them. They left Imam Hassan all alone in the camp, in the tent. His camp was attacked. He became injured. His life was protected and taken back to Medina. After which, the question of peace treaty happened, where Muawiyah himself sends a plain paper, so to speak, and asks that, put the conditions of peace. The Sulh of Imam Hassan is very famous in history. The Sulh of Imam Hassan is as powerful as the battle of Imam Husayn, as Karbala. Both did the same thing. And what was that? It revived the Sunnah of Rasul. It revived Amar bil Maruf Nahi Anil Munkar. It unveiled those who were the enemies of Islam. The Sulh of Imam Hassan did that, and the Waqi Karbala did that. What was the conditions, very briefly, of the Sulh of Imam Hassan? Now, what we are looking at right now is that Imam Husayn watched how Muawiyah was with Imam Ali, period. And now he watched how Muawiyah was in this 10 years, where after which Imam Hassan made Sulh, because Imam Hassan was still alive, and eventually he was poisoned. He was poisoned through the assistance, or Muawiyah played the role of poisoning Imam Hassan by the spies. To break somebody, spies are used, to break that sort of truth that is there. Wife was used, women were used, money was used, force was used, properties were taken, lives were threatened during the time of Imam Hassan. It all happened. So here, Imam Hassan's period, we find that the Sulh of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. If you recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, I will just point out to one, very brief points in regards to Imam Hassan's sul and what happened, so that it's a good reminder of what you call of history in regards to the sul of Imam Hassan. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If you help me with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Number one that we find in regards to sul of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is that he clearly mentions that, I'm beginning from the bottom, that after the death of Muawiyah, the leadership and the khilafat will be if Imam Hassan is alive with him. But however, Imam Hassan was shaheed. If he is not alive, it will be Imam Husayn. But what we find, he went against this pact, this condition of the sulh, of the peace treaty, where while still he was alive, he comes to Medina and he nominates Yazid as the next Khalifa, which is going against the sulh of Imam Hassan. So the munafiq was unveiled, the enemy was unveiled. You say that there are two Shahzadeh of Rasul, one did sulh and one fought. And you praise Imam Hassan a lot because he was very nice and he did sulh. Okay, fine, he did sulh. But those who did sulh with, those he did peace treaty with, did they kept up to the conditions, to the things with the grandson of Rasulullah mentioned in the sulh? All of them were carried out by him or not? No, we don't want to see that. Because, he was also ashab of Rasul. He believed in Allah. We cannot judge the actions. The actions, which thought is this? Murji'ah. We cannot judge the action. Actions is, Allah will judge the action. Because they were believers, they believe in Allah, they were also Sahabi, he was also Sahabi, both were Sahabi. We cannot talk about the actions here. So here is Sulh Imam Hassan. In the Sulh, Imam Hassan is saying, you promote Sulh, you promote Imam Hassan more. And in the sulh is saying that this is how he's supposed to behave. But did he behave that way? We don't want to look at that. Number one was this, that he is going to give the reign, khilafat, to either Imam Hassan if he is alive, if not Imam Husayn. But once again, it is very clear in the history, he went against that. The other condition of sulh of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, in which he put there, if you recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The other thing that he put in the condition of Imam Hassan and Mushtaba in the sulh was that those who are the lovers of Imam Ali alayhi salam and those who have been persecuted during the reign of Muawiyah, as it was very openly being killed, that should stop. And fair distribution of Baytul Mal should take place for all. There should be no differentiation between Arab and Ajam. But during the time of Imam Hassan, 10 years. During the time of Imam Husayn, which is 10 more years after that, because Muawiyah was still alive, we see continuously persecution of the followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. We see continuously against the condition which Imam Hassan says that the la'nat on and the cursing on Imam Ali should stop. If you want to do sulh with me, one condition is this: stop cursing, my father. But did that stop? Does the history bear witness? Not Shia history, not just history, bear witness that this was stopped during the time of Muawiyah? It wasn't. It carried on till Abdul Aziz, for a longer period, even after Imam Husayn's death. This was raj, this was common to call the curse of Imam Ali. Abdul Aziz ibn, one of the Khalifas of Bani Umayyah, he was the one who returned Fadak and also who stopped the cursing of Imam Ali in history. So what was sulh of Imam Hassan? That the cursing should stop, and the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, those who are the lovers of Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam must be protected. Their lives must be protected. The other thing in regards to the sulh of Imam Hassan was that One was the what do you call, the Khilafat. The other was La'nat should stop. The third one was that the lovers of Ahl Bayt and Baytul Mal should be given and respected. The followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. There were two more conditions which I'm forgetting. If you do salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad bulantar salawat.
The other was the freedom of practice. Freedom of practice given to the people, that they declare their love to Ahl Bayt openly, and there should be no restriction as there was before. All of these conditions were not met during the time of Imam Hassan. And after that, when Imam Husayn came, it was the same thing. But during the time of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, he was taking charge of stopping the caravans they used to go towards Sham and take the Baytul Mal and distribute, because he was going against the pact. And then Imam Husayn waited till the time or till the period where Muawiyah died in order to basically do that uprising, because he did not want to go against the soul of Imam Hassan, which his brother have made, because the decision of the Masumeen alayhi salam is the same. Imam Ali wanted to go fight Muawiyah, he did. Rasulullah wanted to go in Tabuk, he died, and Omar asked that, what is your opinion? Abu Bakr asked, what is your opinion? Shall we still send a battalion towards Rome? Imam Ali said that if Rasul wanted before he died, we should carry on what he has asked. They went, and there was victory that took place. The hikmat was there. Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan the same. Imam Hassan made soul, Imam Husayn bound to that soul. He accepted that. Till when? Obviously till Muawiyah was alive. Right after Muawiyah died, the question of paying allegiance to Yazid happened. At least, so the soul of Imam Hassan and the Waqi Karbala, they actually unveiled where falsehood is and unveiled where the truth was. Because when soul of Imam Hassan took place and Yazid was taken as the next Khalifa, at least Muawiyah, outwardly speaking, he was showing his commitment to Islam outwardly, Zahiran. That's why even today Muawiyah is well respected, because how committed he was outwardly. When it comes to Yazid, people tend to kind of back off speaking about the character of Yazid, which is once again well known and regarded among the book pages of history. But with Muawiyah, no. But still, if we go deeper, Imam Hassan Mushtaba, the grandson of Rasulullah, unveiled who he was and what he was. Leave aside, Imam Ali also tried to did that. Imam Hassan did that, and Imam Husayn the same way. Right? So Imam Hassan, with his peace, with his soul, unveiled who was Munafiq and where Haqq was. And then as soon as he died, Imam Husayn said that I am not going to give bay'ah to a personality like Yazid, this Fatih of Islam. If I'm supposed to give bay'ah to such a person, Islam is finished. They had left no stones unturned to uproot Islam. And then Imam Husayn had to do what he had to do. There was no choice left. They did the soul, they did the war, the battle of Siffin happened, right? And the sulh happened, and continuously, reminding Muawiyah about what they are doing is not right. And then finally it reaches to a point that Imam Husayn had to do what he had to do. There was nothing left other than this grand sacrifice of Imam Husayn. And then he decided that, okay, this is the time. And Imam Husayn was watching all of these development, right? And he wasn't quiet. He wasn't like, let things happen the way it's happening. No, he was in charge and he was preparing, his people and his support. That's why 72 to come to support to Imam Husayn is not a joke. He was, and then he had, letters from Kufa inviting him to come and become, now the Muawiyah is gone, we need a Khalifa, we need a leader. They wrote thousands and thousands of letters, tens and thousands of letters to Imam Husayn that we are ready now. Muawiyah is gone. The Sul was still Muawiyah, for example, right? Now we know what the criteria and conditions of Sul were, and because the people had suffered so much, because the methodology of reign and the governing was similar to the methodology of Osman. Favoritism and giving money to the rich people, the poor were deprived. Even they were suffering from this. The loved ones were killed, 8,000 or 4,000 in one day. One of the appointees of Muawiyah killed in Kufa. Even Ibn Ziyad asked him that, don't you think that you may have killed some of the good ones? And in which 47 or 41 were Hafiz of the Quran who was killed. This was this methodology. So even the people were quite disappointed, upset, and they wanted a change to take place, in the governance. So they invited Imam Husayn alayhi salam as well, and Imam Husayn prepared people for this. He had done that tarbiyat among the nation, and then he said, now is the time that I leave for Makkah, as we all know. And inshallah, maybe tomorrow and onwards we can probably look at how Imam Husayn alayhi salam and his words and his speeches from Medina till the day of Ashura. We started looking at some of his speeches and his sort of responses to during the last year of his life, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Tonight is the night of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. As we all know that all of the ashab of Imam Husayn and the family members of Imam Husayn were killed in one day. It happened on the day of Ashura. But every night we tend to dedicate a night to a shaheed, to a family member, to a sahabi. And although there were 72 of them, and there were many who were quite famous as well, leaders of the tribes, great individuals and personalities, but still this 10 days doesn't really allow us to really discuss about them. Such as Wahab we spoke about, who was a Christian and who supported Imam Husayn, who came to help Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and he was slain and he was killed, right? And there were many others, Muslim ibn Awsaja, we spoke a little bit about him, who was also the Sahabi of Rasulullah. He was so old that they had put a support for him so that he can sit straight on the steed of the horse, that he couldn't even sit straight. And they had tied his eyelids to his eyebrows because he was so old, right, in order that he fight, right? So as he was there, that's why Imam Husayn says, Hal min nasir yansuruna. Whoever listens to my call, they have to come and they have to join. There was no age, there was nothing of that, right? And then Muslim ibn Awsaja, who was the Sahabi of Rasul, he joined as well. And then he also gave away his life. Tonight is the night of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, who was the son of Imam Husayn. And they say that he was older, some of the riwayat say that he was older to Imam Zainul Abidin even. And one of the things that is mentioned in regards to him, that he was the most resemble one to Rasulullah. That the ashab would say that when we miss Rasulullah, we come to your house, or Hussein, please call Ali Akbar, so that we can see Ali Akbar and remember how Rasul looked, how Prophet looked. And that's why when Ali Akbar was going onto the battleground, Imam Husayn said that, oh Allah, raised his hands, and he says, oh Allah, know that the most resemble one in terms of his appearance, in terms of khalqan wa khulqan. As we say, the khalq is the outward, the khulq is the inward. The most resemble one in the khalq and khulq to Rasulullah, I am sending, this personality, this individual in the battleground, in the battlefield. And also, in regards to his lineage, the mother was Layla, and she was from the tribe of Saqafi. Saqafi was a very, very, very famous tribe of that time, and they say that the grandfather, the father of Layla, the wife of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, the mother of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, belonged to the to the tribe of Saqafi, and it was Mas'ud. His name was Mas'ud, and he was the one who came from the tribe at the time of Sulh Hudaybiyah. The person who came to represent the kuffar at that time, Mas'ud, his name was, I'm forgetting the last name, he comes to do in Sulh Hudaybiyah with the Prophet. And Prophet said that this man is a very respectable man at that time even. And he said that he is somebody like the ashab of Yasin. In Surah Yasin, you have this ashab, and there was one, these ashab were among the non-believers. They did taqiyya, they were among the non-believers, right? So he's like that. Later on, Mas'ud accepted Islam after Fatih Makkah. And then he asks permission from the Prophet that allow him to go to Taif and to propagate Islam. Rasulullah said, Taif, they are very shrewd people. They are very rigid. They are very strict in terms of their, what do you call Khabilehi, in terms of their tribalism. They are very strict. They're going to do something harm to you. But Mas'ud said that, well, it will be my honor to be Shaheed. And then he did. And he went to Taif and he converted people. He brought people to Islam. And one day he was giving azan on the roof. And while he was given azan, an arrow was shot to him. This is the grandfather of Ali Akbar. And then he became Shaheed. He was one of the Shaheed in the way of propagation. He was known, famous for becoming a Shaheed in the way of propagation. Layla, who was the daughter of this personality and who was the mother of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. That's why we find Hazrat Ali Akbar to be very strong. And there was a special relationship of Ali Akbar and Hazrat Zainab. जब भी हज़रत अली अकबर आते थे इजाज़त के लिए, इमाम हुसैन कहते थे फूफी अम्मा से इजाज़त लो. और फिर हज़रत अली अकबर जब हज़रत ज़ैनब के पास जाते थे, हज़रत ज़ैनब इजाज़त नहीं देती थी. और वो वक्त तक जब हज़रत अली अकबर को समझ में नहीं आया कि मैं किस तरह से इजाज़त लूँ फूफी अम्मा से, तो यहाँ पे हज़रत अली अकबर कहते हैं, क्या क़यामत के दिन आप फ़ातिमा ज़हरा का सामना कर पाएगी कि जब उनका बेटे की जान जो है पे आ गई है, उनके बेटे की जान खतरे में है और आप चाहते हैं कि मेरी जान बच जाए, आप किस तरह से मुझे रोक रहे हैं. यहाँ पर बीबी ज़ैनब ने कुछ नहीं कहा. और फिर हज़रत अली अकबर इमाम हुसैन के पास इजाज़त लेकर खुशी खुशी आते हैं. और यहाँ पे गया है कि इमाम हुसैन अलैहि सलाम घोड़े की सवारी को लाते हैं और अली अकबर इस घोड़े पे सवार हो जाते हैं और मक्तल की तरफ और क़ियाम और जंग की तरफ रवाना होते हैं. जैसे हज़रत अली अकबर अपना घोड़ा लेकर जंग की तरफ, मैदान की तरफ जाते हैं, हिस करते हैं, महसूस करते हैं कि कोई पीछे दौड़ा दौड़ा चला आ रहा है. रुक के पलट के देखते हैं तो देखते हैं कि हुसैन दौड़ा दौड़ा बेटे के पीछे आ रहा है और कह रहा है महलन महला, आहिस्ता जाओ मेरे बेटे, आहिस्ता जाओ. फिर यहाँ पे अली अकबर उतर जाते हैं और कहते हैं बाबा जान, आप ही ने तो मुझे तैयार किया, आप ही तो मुझे भेज रहे हो. तो यहाँ पे इमाम हुसैन कहते हैं, अली अकबर तुम्हें पता नहीं है कि बाप की मोहब्बत क्या होती है. खड़ियल जवान को मौत के तरफ भेजना आसान नहीं है, बाप के लिए आसान नहीं होता है. आप खुद भी जो बाप है, खुदा आपके औलाद को सलामत रखे, बेटे की थोड़ी सी तबीयत ख़राब हो जाए तो मचल जाते हैं. यहाँ पे अली अकबर मैदान की तरफ, मौत की तरफ जा रहे हैं और इमाम हुसैन खुदाफिसी करके रवाना करते हैं. और कहा गया है कि इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम जो है इस जंग को देख रहे थे और क़ियाम में ज़ैनब और उम्मे लैला इमाम हुसैन के चेहरे को देख रहे थे. जैसा इमाम हुसैन का चेहरा हशाश और बशाश और खुश होता थे तो ये समझते थे कि अली अकबर सलामत है, क्योंकि जान अली अकबर सबको जो है सबको मुहिम थी, सबको जो है काबिल एहतराम थी, क्योंकि शबीह पैगंबर थे. और फिर उसके बाद यहाँ पर जब इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम کا چہرہ جو ہے زرد ہو جاتا ہے، پریشان ہو جاتا ہے، تو بیویاں قیام میں دعا کرنے لگتی ہے کہ علی اکبر کی جان سالم رہے، سلامت رہے۔ کیا معرکے کی جنگ کی ہے علی اکبر نے، ایک ایک کو واصل جہنم کیا ہے۔ پھر اس کے بعد جنگ کرتے کرتے علی اکبر باپ کے پاس لوٹ کے واپس آتے ہیں۔ علی اکبر سے 2 خدافظی ہے باپ کی۔ دوسری دفعہ جب آتے ہیں تو باپ سے کہتے ہیں بابا جان پیاس مجھے مارے ڈالتی ہے، تھوڑا سا پانی اگر ہو تو مجھے پلا دے۔ یہاں پہ 2 روایتیں ملتے ہیں۔ ایک روایت یہ ملتی ہے کہ امام حسین علیہ السلام نے اپنی انگوٹھی کو علی اکبر کے منہ میں دیا ہے۔ دوسری روایت یہ ملتی ہے باپ نے اپنی زبان کو بیٹے کے منہ میں دی ہے کہ شاید کچھ تری، شاید کچھ تشنگی دور ہو جائے۔ اور یہاں پہ علی اکبر اپنے چہرے کو کھینچتے ہیں اور اپنے منہ کو امام حسین کے دہان سے پیچھے ہٹاتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں بابا جان آپ تو میرے سے زیادہ پیاسے ہیں۔ خشک ہو چکی تھی حسین کی زبان۔ اور یہاں پہ دوبارہ علی اکبر جو ہے میدان کی طرف جاتے ہیں، اور یہاں پہ حسین کہتے ہیں ام لیلہ اور ام زینب سے کہ اب دعا نہ کرنا، کیونکہ یہ دعا کر رہے تھے کہ علی اکبر دوبارہ واپس چلا آئے، علی اکبر کی دوبارہ زیارت ہو جائے۔ جب دوبارہ حضرت علی اکبر گئے ہیں میدان کی طرف، یہاں پہ کہا ہے کہ اب دعا نہ کرنا، یہ اب وہ وقت امتحان آ گیا ہے۔ علی اکبر دوبارہ آگے جا کر کیا معرکے کی جنگ کرتے ہیں، دشمنوں کو واصل جہنم کرتے ہیں، اور کوئی قابو نہیں پاتا ہے حضرت علی اکبر پر۔ یہاں پہ عمر سعد اعلان کرتا ہے یہ نواس رسول ہے، وہ جنگ کر رہا ہے جس طرح سے رسول جنگ کیا کرتے تھے، اسے کے اوپر تمام مل کر حملے ور ہو جائے۔ تمام مل کر حملے ور ہوئے، لیکن کہا گیا ہے کہ ایک ایسا شقی شخص تھا جو چھپ گیا تھا، چھپ کر پیچھے سے حضرت علی اکبر پہ وار کرتا ہے۔ حضرت علی اکبر اپنے دونوں ہاتھ گھوڑے کے گلے میں ڈال دیتے ہیں۔ یہاں پہ لحوف کی روایت پڑھوں گا ابن طاؤس کی، کہ کیونکہ روایتوں میں یہ ملتا ہے کہ حضرت علی اکبر کی پیٹھ پہ زخم اتنے تھے، تلوار اتنی چلائی گئی تھی کہ ان کی پیٹھ سکے ہو چکی تھی، مگر یہ سمجھ میں نہیں آتا کہ جب علی اکبر نے اپنے دونوں ہاتھ گھوڑے کے گلے میں ڈال دیے تھے تو سوار گھوڑا ایسی سواری ہے اور وفادار ہے کہ معمولاً جب یہ سوار اس طرح سے کرتا ہے تو گھوڑا واپس چلے جاتا ہے قیام کی طرف، لیکن کہا گیا ہے کہ حضرت علی اکبر کا جو خون تھا اس گھوڑے کی آنکھ میں آ چکا تھا، اور ایک شخص آگے بڑھ کر گھوڑے کی لگام لے کر دشمنوں کے بیچ لے جایا، اور جب حضرت علی اکبر پہ وار کیا جاتا تھا کہا جاتا تھا کہ کیونکہ تیرا نام علی ہے ہم اسی لیے تجھے وار کر رہے ہیں۔ اور پھر ایسا وقت آیا کہ سینے پہ ایسی برچی لگی حضرت علی اکبر کے کہ وہ اپنے آپ کو گھوڑے پہ سنبھالنے نہ پائے، اور گھوڑے سے زین سے زمین پر آتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں یا ابا، میرے بابا میرا سلام قبول ہو۔ یہاں پہ کہا گیا ہے کہ حسین اسی طرح سے جس طرح سے ایک عقاب شکار کی طرف جاتا ہے اس طرح سے تیزی سے دوڑے ہیں مقتل کی طرف، قتل گاہ کی طرف، اور جب امام حسین آگے بڑھتے ہیں تو حضرت علی اکبر نظر نہیں آتے، کیونکہ ایسی دھول اور ایسی گرد جو ہے اٹھ گئی ہے کربلا میں، دیکھ نہیں پا رہے ہیں۔ کیا دیکھ نہیں پا رہے ہیں اس وجہ سے، یا کہہ رہے ہیں کہ علی اکبر میں تمہیں دیکھ نہیں سکتا، میری بینائی چلی گئی ہے، محبت پسر ہے۔ اور پھر حسین اپنے آپ کو کہتے ہیں کہ اے علی اکبر مجھے صدا دو، اینا اینا اے علی اکبر، مجھے پکارو۔ آواز سے کے ذریعے امام حسین پہنچتے ہیں علی اکبر کی لاش پر، اور جب اس دھول جم جاتی ہے کربلا کے میدان میں کیا دیکھا جاتا ہے کہ باپ ہے اور بیٹا ہے۔ بیٹا اپنے سینے کو پکڑا ہوا ہے ایک ہاتھ سے، اور دوسرا ہاتھ باپ کے گلے میں ڈالا ہوا ہے۔ اور یہاں پہ کہا گیا ہے کہ جو شقی اور دشمن تھے وہ آ کے تھالیاں مار رہے تھے، وہ ہنس رہے تھے امام حسین کی غربت پر، اور امام حسین یہ جنگ کر کر پیچھے بھیج دیتے تھے۔ پھر دوبارہ امام حسین حضرت علی اکبر کے پاس آ جاتے تھے، پھر گفتگو کرنے کی کوشش کرتے تھے، اور کہتے ہیں اکبر دوسرا ہاتھ بھی میرے گلے میں ڈال دو۔ جب دوسرا ہاتھ علی اکبر ہٹاتے ہیں تو بابا کہتا ہے انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ برچی کی انی سینے علی اکبر میں ہے، اور یا علی کہہ کر اس سینے کی برچی کی انی کو نکالتے ہیں، خون کا فوارہ لے کر اپنے چہرے پہ ملتے ہیں داڑھی، اور کہتے ہیں اللہ سے اس طرح سے ملاقات کروں گا، اکبر کا خون کا انتقام اللہ سے مانگوں گا۔ اور پھر اس کے بعد علی اکبر کی جب جان نکل گئی اور کوئی نہیں ہے تو راوی لکھتا ہے کہ میں دیکھتا ہوں کہ قیام سے ایک طویل خاتون دوڑی ہوئی چلی آتی ہے، بھائی کے کھاندے پہ ہاتھ رکھ کر کہتی ہے بھیا انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ چھوٹے چھوٹے بچے آتے ہیں لاش علی اکبر کو اٹھا کر، اللہ لعنت اللہ
الله على قوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. ماتم حسین. یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا